We had Stuart Attwell, the referee, in the Manchester United v Sunderland match, award a corner kick at first. He then takes advice from his assistant referee, which he's allowed to do. He's allowed to take advice from the assistant referee if he's got a better angle. What I can't understand, why Stuart Attwell, who was well placed, wants to take another piece of advice from an assistant referee who must be 50, 60 yards away from play. Yes, he might have a better angle, but distance plays a huge part in that decision making. Stuart Attwell was in the best place to give a corner. But for some reason, Stuart was advised and, changed his mind to go from a corner to a penalty kick, which he's allowed to do within the laws of the game. Without VAR intervention, he's allowed to change his decision based on the assistant or fourth official's advice. So the penalty was given. What do you then see? You see, I think it was Hume of Sunderland, if I recall correctly, and Sesko of Manchester United. Sesko raises his foot, but there's no contact. There's absolutely no contact by Sesko on the Sunderland defender. In fact, the ball hits the defender's, the attacker's head, which the Sunderland player is head. And that's where maybe the thought that there was a contact because the player goes down holding his face. But what the VAR does very, very clever, he then sees the images. He clearly sees there's no contact. The ball has hit the player's face, not the foot. So recommends a review. And that's when Stuart Attwell goes to the on-field monitor, changes his decision from a penalty kick to back to a corner based on the images that was given by the VAR. So the process was correct. I didn't agree with what Stuart Attwell did originally, from the corner to the penalty from advice from an assistant who wasn't well positioned. So I think the assistant referee was wrong to interfere. But within the laws and within the the VAR protocol, he's allowed to change his decision on the field because they're match officials, they're a team. But the right decision was made in the end because this is not a penalty kick. When a player raises his foot, makes absolutely no contact and doesn't affect the player's ability to play the ball. In fact, the ball hits the Sunderland player's face. Therefore, the correct decision was made in the end. So we saw some good practices this weekend of refereeing, but we also seen some interesting situations where, again, the Pigeon Well this week have came out and apologised to Manchester United with a mistake at Brentford recently. Pigeon Well are making so many, the referees are making so many errors and there's so many apologies coming from Pigeon Well. It's seriously difficult at the moment, morale for referees, when each week the referees are being called out by the head of referee and Howard Webb for making mistakes, and the taking off fixtures, which we saw with Andy Madley, who wasn't involved this weekend for his mistake in Manchester United, and the losing quality referees. And there's one situation or one big point that needs to be brought is needs to be better education for the referees, because at the moment we're seeing 1 week decisions punished and we're seeing other weeks not. And what we need and all we want as football fans, pundits, managers, players is consistency. And once we get consistency and we get similar decisions punished correctly the same week in, week out, we'll end up getting a better understanding about refereeing and VAR, and we'll be more and more happier going forward.